Aerys Targaryen II, also known as the Mad King, was the 17th Targaryen king to ever sit on the Iron Throne. He was the last of the ruling monarchs of the Targaryen dynasty and was hated by many of his subjects. This hate would boil over into a rebellion, which ended the Targaryen dynasty in Westeros and replaced it with the Baratheon dynasty. But all of this was at the end of Aerys's reign, far different from his early days as king. At the beginning of his reign, Aerys was loved by the people, and not even the wisest could predict the name Mad would ever be put on him. When he took the crown in 262 AC, after the sudden death of his father, Aerys had declared that he would be the greatest Targaryen king that had ever lived. Some of his friends encouraged this by suggesting that one day he would be known as Aerys the Wise or Aerys the Great. He took an active part in his rule. He was ambitious during this time and boasted about many grand plans, although he lost interest in them quickly. His plans, none of which would ever be carried out, included invading the Stepstones and adding them to his kingdom, building a new wall 100 miles north of the current one to extend his kingdom to the north, and building an underwater canal from the Rainwood to make the deserts of Dorne bloom after visiting the southern region in 270 AC. None of this would be accomplished during his reign. Instead, his greatest act as king, many said, was appointing Tywin Lannister as Hand of the King. Though Aerys had ambitions, he would never satisfy any of them, and soon became disinterested in governing the realm. So Tywin Lannister took leadership and began to rule in the king's stead, and Westeros began to prosper. In this time, Tywin was little loved by the people, but he proved to be a brilliant administrator. As Hand, his reputation became so well known and widely respected that from Old Town to the Wall, men began to say that Aerys might wear the crown, but it was Tywin Lannister who ruled the realm. This began to annoy Aerys, and soon he grew to hate Tywin. Their relationship was also complicated by Tywin's wife, Joanna Lannister, whom Aerys lusted after. During the wedding feast between Tywin and Joanna, a drunken Aerys joked that it was a great pity that the Lord's right to sleep with the bride had been abolished and took certain liberties during the bedding ceremony. Tywin did not forget this, and their relationship began breaking down. In previous times, Aerys would heed the advice of Tywin in his rule, but now he began to oppose Tywin publicly, and often did the exact opposite of what Tywin suggested. By this time, King Aerys had become aware of the widespread belief that he himself was but a hollow gearhead, and Tywin Lannister, the true master of the Seven Kingdoms. These sentiments greatly angered the king, and he became determined to disprove them and to humble his overmighty servant and put him back into his place. At the great anniversary tourney of 272 AC, held to commemorate Aerys's 10th year upon the Iron Throne, Joanna Lannister brought her 6-year-old twins, Jaime and Cersei, from Casterly Rock to present before the court. The king, very much in his cups, asked her if giving suck to them had ruined your breasts, which were so high and proud. The question greatly amused Lord Tywin's rivals, who were always pleased to see the hand slighted or made mock of, but Lady Joanna was humiliated. Tywin Lannister attempted to return his chain the next morning, but the king refused to accept his resignation. Aerys could have fired Tywin and replaced him another, but he found it more pleasurable to undermine Tywin publicly while he laboring on his behalf. Insults and japes increased at this time, and many at court were realizing the best way to gain the king's favor was by mocking Tywin Lannister. Lord Tywin suffered all this insults in silence and continued to serve as Hand. However, in 273 AC, Lady Joanna and Lord Tywin returned to Casterly Rock to deliver Tywin's third son, Tyrion Lannister. But Lady Joanna died in childbirth, and the child had come to the world malformed, dwarf babe born with stunted legs, an oversized head, and mismatched demonic eyes. Some reports also suggested he had a tail, which was Lopto at his Lord Father's command. Lord Tywin's doom, the small folk called this ill-made creature, and Lord Tywin's bane. Upon hearing of his birth, King Aerys infamously said, "The gods cannot abide such arrogance. They have plucked a fair flower from his hand and given him a monster in her place, to teach him some humility at last." It was not long before reports of the king's remarks reached Lord Tywin as he grieved at Casterly Rock. From then on, The old friendship and affection was gone. Never a man to make a show of his emotion, Lord Tywin continued on as Hand of the King, dealing with the daily tedium of the Seven Kingdoms, while the king grew erratic, violent, and suspicious.